Hey there, and thanks for tuning into episode 131 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. This is your host, Greg Lindberg. On this episode of the podcast, we are chatting with a gentleman who is celebrating his 40th season of beat baseball here in 2025, and he has won multiple World Series championships within the National Beat Baseball Association as both a player and a coach. In addition, he's also a member of the NBBA Hall of Fame and just has so much energy and passion for the game of beat baseball. So I think you'll really enjoy this one. So why don't we go ahead now and hit the field and get swinging toward episode 131 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. Okay, so my guest here on this episode of Eyes Free Sports is Darnell Booker, aka Coach Book. And for those who don't know, Darnell is a longtime beat baseball player, Hall of Famer when it comes to beat ball, and also founder and longtime coach and team manager of the Indy Thunder beat ball team. Darnell, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Glad to be here this evening.
Absolutely. I know this is long overdue, so apologies about that, but it's an honor to finally have you on here.
Glad to be here and glad to talk some beat ball and my journey.
Awesome. Cool. So let's go ahead and dive in. So if you just want to kind of talk about like your early years as far as maybe where you were born, grew up, and your childhood.
Yeah, I was born and raised here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Childhood, growing up, went to public school for a little bit. Then later on in my elementary to high school years, I attended the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired and North Central High School. The reason why I attended the School for the Blind is because I had a freak accident in my right eye. A couple of buddies of ours were playing that old game called Cops and Robbers. And I got shot in my right eye with a BB gun, just lost my right eye. So no vision there, probably around my early teenage years. So basically I had to adapt with that. I have full vision in my left eye, probably on the borderline of 20/70. So I would probably either be qualified now for beat baseball, maybe a little bit, maybe not. It just depends. I haven't had my vision checked in a while, but I see pretty good in my left eye, but not in my right eye. So that is my visual impairment. Also, like I said, I also went to, so I took all my academic courses and everything at the Indiana School for the Blind once I got into high schook. And then I also took a lot of my electives at North Central High School in TV and radio. Went to, it's called J. Everlight Career Center. So I did a lot of TV and a lot of radio my junior and senior year. So not only did I get to walk at the Indiana School for the Blind graduation, they let me walk at North Central High School, the class of 85 graduates. So that was pretty cool. They said, hey, since you're a part of North Central in some way, shape, or form, if you would like to walk with the graduate class, you can. So that was pretty cool. So that's when I discovered, beat ball discovered me, because I was involved in all of the sports at the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, track and field, wrestling, swimming. Goal ball wasn't around quite yet, even though goal ball was in existence, but goal ball wasn't around yet, actually, when I was in high school. So I did all the sports and everything like that. So one of the ladies who was already in beat baseball came to one of my meets and then promptly got me off stage when I was a senior at the Indiana School for the Blind and said, hey, why don't you try beat ball? I want to introduce you to beat baseball. Her name was Jan Traphagen. Jan, like I said, Jan is the reason why I am here and am involved in the sport of beat baseball. And so I tried it out and I'm like, okay, this sounds pretty good, because pretty interesting, because I like anything stick and ball playing, because I also grew up playing basketball intramural, and I also was a partner with the Special Olympics. I played basketball as being a partner, not an athlete, just being because the Special Olympics was also just, people with developmental disabilities, but I was one of the two partners on the court that had no intellectual disabilities, but could help the Special Olympians. So we played there. Then I played some intramural ball. Played some also church league softball, slow pitch. So done all the sports basically. But yeah, beat baseball was introduced to me as a senior in high school, and got out there, played it, and fell in love after Jan took me to a couple of practices. She had a team called the Indianapolis Eagles, So, and Jan was my inspiration as far as playing beat baseball, playing for Jan. I played for Jan for 6, 7 years from '85 to '91. Even though I was also taking a full load of college and working full time as well from '85 to '91 was my college years. We went to IUPUI, was no longer exists now. It's called IU Indianapolis now. So back then we were called the IUPUI Metros, and people would ask me what your mascot was. I said it was a bus because we have Metro buses here in Indianapolis. So it was kind of funny.
Yo,
And now IUPUI does not exist anymore. It's called IU Indianapolis. And my major was physical education, business psychology, and telecommunications as a minor. So I was in college for 5 years instead of four, a full load of college and work and beat baseball. Yes, I was busy, pretty busy, and like I said, it was great to be a part of beat baseball from '85 to '91 when Jan was here in Indianapolis, and she ran the team. She was the manager of our team and oversaw our team, and we won a championship in 1990 as Indianapolis Eagles. And we had a lot of good players on that team, and our Jerry Wendell, our past president, was the pitcher of our team, and so that was pretty cool. But it's like I'm a lefty, by the way, and I understood my role. That was the key thing because we had a lot of good hitters, and I just fit in. I accepted my role. That's very important for me to do. So, like I said, my playing days did not get me into the Hall of Fame. I played in the back because we had a great front line with Jerry's ex-wife, Karen Wendell, who also played goal ball, and Jerry played goal ball as well. But so they kept me pretty clean back there. So, like I said, I hit pretty well, but I understood my role. And so that's what propelled me. I learned a lot from Jan when she ran our team to yeah, to start my own team. So I'll cut it off right there and let you ask some more questions, but I can go on and on. But yeah, that's from my early childhood days to my high school days, college, and I hope I didn't bore you too much.
no, definitely not. A lot of interesting, just kind of anecdotes and kind of steps in the process. So appreciate kind of giving that context. I am curious, just as a player, did you prefer batting or defense, or what was kind of your preference on the field?
Well, my strong suit was batting. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. So because it's very hard. I admire all those guys that are even in today's game because back then we had 5 strikes and 2 balls and the bases were 90 feet and the home run line was 180 and like I said, you had to get 5 strikes. But my strong suit was batting. Defensive. That's why wherever they put me, I accepted it. So, because I'm just learning the game like fresh out of high school, '85, '86, '87. It took us a long time. I remember our first World Series I went to was 1987. It was in Ithaca, New York. And I'm a very competitive person. I just driven, just very driven.
Yep.
And yeah, we got it handed to us in 1987. Didn't win a game. I remember crying in the van, and it's just so stupid. Welcome to beat baseball and the competitiveness. Yeah, in 1987 we had a reality check. And that's what that was just drove our team. No, we didn't practice like we practice these days, but knowing we had the potential to put together a championship team, it took us when I was on there from '85 to '90 to get to where we needed to get to, and it all came together with players. We had a huge roster with the Indianapolis Eagles way back then. A huge roster. So it was pretty. You just like I said, you had to understand your role, and we did, and we put it all together. Actually, we went back to back because in '91 we lost to Fort Worth. '90 we won the World Series over Chicago Bluffs, and then '91 we got back to the finals and lost to Fort Worth.
Hmm. Wow. Wow. And about how many teams were around back then, back in the late 80s or 90s?
Probably not as many. I would say at least a dozen or so. I could be wrong, just checking the history, but maybe a dozen, between a dozen to 15 or so teams. Because again, you have to fundraise as you do today to get to the World Series. So I'm sure about a dozen or so. I would say I don't remember back then, but Yeah, but we had to. It was very, like I said, the bases were 90 feet. The scores were very high, and we get five strikes back then. You get five strikes. You can let two balls pass instead of now one and four. Your full count was like a ball or two balls and four strikes would be your full count. And then the fifth one, I'm like, the games took forever in the day to play.
Oof, yeah, I can imagine. I didn't realize the rules were a little bit different. Like anything, I'm sure they've evolved. And
Yeah, there wasn't any double play balls like on one hop. There
dang,
was still the automatic three outs if you caught it in the air, but there wasn't, not a lot. Not a lot has changed, but definitely wasn't any double play balls.
right, right, interesting. And then yeah, so just kind of fast forwarding, so into the '90s. So I know you kind of mentioned just seeing Jan and kind of the Indy Eagles at the time, how things were run. So just talk to me a little bit more about your inspiration for wanting to start a team.
Yeah, Jan just ran the team. She picked everybody up. She did. I just watched Jan a lot, learned a lot from Jan, how she organize it. And I mean, she would pick a few of us up and just load her in her little station wagon. And she was making, like I said, we only practiced 1 or 2 days a week. And we had a field. And like I said, we didn't take it it wasn't we didn't have any tournaments. We just prepared for the World Series basically because there wasn't any regional tournaments we could go to or any popped up at the time. So I just learned a lot from Jan as far as our organizational skills and her dedication as far as making sure we got to and from practice because none of us could drive, and we got to and from the practice. And afterwards, she would take us to White Castle and get us some food, and we were hungry and things like that. She really took pride in taking care of her players, and that's what I learned a lot from her. Her leadership was impeccable, was unbelievable. And so when Jan left in '90 at the end of the '91 season, because her job took her to the Detroit area because she worked with AT&T, the Yellow Pages, we just played with different types of teams, like the Windy City teams, and we just started playing. I mean, because beat baseball was pretty much almost that's just dead for several years in the '90s. But we just played around with different teams in the Midwest. So, we played with the Bluffs. We played with, like I said, another Chicago team. So, yeah, like I said, that's when beat ball was dead. So I traveled to a lot of the tournaments and saw what beat baseball was, and I'm like, okay. I sat with my friend Ron Brown and James Michaels, but Ron has been with me. You talk about loyalty. Look up in the dictionary. You see Ron Brown loyalty since 1985 when I met Ron, because Ron had been playing since 1982.
Mm.
So Ron was there 3 years before I was. So he played with the Diamond Dazzlers and the Marion Express, and so he was telling me about beat baseball. And Ron has just been my right hand man from 1985 on, and because so the Thunder was born. I'm like, okay, guys. I'm like, Ron, I think I want to do this. I'll take care. I'll do it. I've learned a lot from Jan, so I want to see if it can happen. See if I can do it because I did all the legwork, but they were just right there beside me. Well, Book, if you put it together, we will be by your side. We will help you out. And we were just doing it recreational from '99 on. We would go hit in the park and everything like that, find some parks. And I still have the old classic bases I still have from 1999 that I purchased and
Ooh.
for myself, and then I just let the team have it. We just worked on that. So the Thunder was born in January of 2000. So we just turned 25 this year, so that's amazing. We did not. We That's when we started as an organization, getting everything in line and this, that, and the other. We registered and played our first World Series in 2001. So basically, this is our 25th year as an organization and our 24th year as far as participating and playing beat baseball. And so we went to the 2001, 2002. The only World Series we've missed was 2003 because of the funding. So we haven't missed the World Series since 2004. So that's been amazing. And I credit a lot of the players, a lot of the volunteers. So Beat Baseball has been alive and well since 2000, and spinning off the Thunder tree. I mean, like I said, this really tested the Thunder's uh, perseverance and togetherness and I respect these guys to the hills because they played for me at some point in time in the early 2000s. Steve Michaels, James's brother, Leah Michaels, Steve's eventual wife, they all played for me. A lot of those guys played for me, but in 2010, they wanted to start their own team because we wanted to stay local and all throughout the state of Indiana. But those guys, I have a healthy respect for those guys and everything. So they wanted to start their own team. So okay, it was a spinoff from it comes from the Thunder Tree, which is awesome. But they have their own philosophy and everything like that. But they all played for me at one time, and Leo spotted for me, and Steve played for me as a player, and I put Steve on the All World Series team in 2007 as a pitcher. I pitched for Steve. Steve made the All Star team and was on the All Star All Offensive team. I think he batted like 708 or something like that. So I pitched to him, and he was a lefty. So that's a good honor we had. But it tested the Thunder's see if we were going to keep going or were we going to fold. This happened in 2010. And we stayed together. We put together a team because with the World Series is in Indianapolis in 2011, that was one of my goals to get the World Series here in Indy. We did that in 2011, and that was the only year in our 24-year history playing wise that we've been out of the top 10. We finished 12th in 2011, and ever since then, we've always been in the top 10 or higher. Even when I was pitching, and then when Jared came along in 2016 and we went younger, that propelled us to winning titles, championships. But again, loyalty with Ron Brown in 2010, he stuck with me. I think then he was the only one that stuck with me. So we had to build a team literally, Greg, from scratch from 2010, 2011. And we got back in the top 10 in 2012. But 2011 was the only time we were out of the top 10. So, yes. And then we started our dynasty after the 2015 season. Even when I pitched, our highest when I pitched was a pitchers, we finished sixth place. We were in the almost the top five, but we finished sixth one year. And then, like I said, because I've been pitching since like 1995, I was pitching and I've been pitching, and then fully. So I pitched from 95 to 2015 as a pitcher, and then again, here's where it comes in: understanding your role. And even though I'm the manager and the coach of the team, and I'm very competitive. And Jared was coming along because Jared was the hot pitcher. He's been pitching ever since he was 12 because Jared went with that team with the RHI Extreme. And then after 2015, after they were around for 5 years, people, didn't think it would work because I'm like, no, we can work with this. Ron and I had a good conversation with Jared and Clint and everything like that. We weren't going to be called the Indy Extreme or the whatever, the RHI Thunder or anything like that. We were going to be called the Indy Thunder, and those guys had to come in, and we sat down and had a nice conversation. We said, hey, this can work if we all work together. And I understood my role as far as pitching because I knew Jared was more accurate than I was. And that's why I try to get across to the players and everything like that. You have to understand your role. You all have to be pulling from each direction to have a connection to make it work. And we made it work because, I relinquished the pitching to Jared. And I said I was the backup pitcher. And then also being at that time, I was just coaching. And then probably in the last 4 or 5 years, I started catching because we didn't have a catcher that was consistent and stayed with Jared. So basically, I coached all those championships as a coach and not the catcher until after the 21 season when we won our fifth in a row. So, but again, Jared, all you have to do is put a target up there to Jared and he'll find it. So I appreciate still even taking some part of being a part of the team by either coaching and catching and fundraising and this, that, and the other. But it's understanding your role is my trying to get through to all these players, and that's what we have to do. So when we to make a long story short real quickly, we started winning after we got younger in 2015, 2016, and all these players, we have a pipeline at the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And I had coached all these guys that I brought on in 2016 in wrestling and track and field because after I got my degree in 1991, I went back to the blind school and I started coaching. And I also worked in the student activity center as doing a business program, teaching these guys job skills and business skills along with coaching. So I was putting in 12-hour days, 12 and 13-hour days as far as coaching it and also working in our student activities center, teaching these guys job skills and banking and all this type of thing. So basically I was teaching and coaching when I saw all this young talent I had in wrestling, like Eric Rodriguez, Tyler Rodriguez, Miguel Tello, um, all those guys. And those were the cornerstones. And then I went to Warren Central because I took a lot of our letters out to the public schools and seen if anybody had a vision to play beat baseball. That's where I found Gerald Dykes. So, and then all these guys, this core is because I coached these guys ever since they were little bitty kids in wrestling. I knew the competitive fire these guys had. And that's what made our championship run successful. It's not about the X's and O's sometimes. It's about the Jimmys and the Joes and you gotta have the horses and you gotta have just consistency, continuity, and guys gotta understand their roles. We're out there to win, but to have fun, but we're out there to compete and win. And it was a great feeling when we won our first World Series in 2016 against the Boston Renegades. It was great. We were fiery. I mean, and then nothing against our U.S. teams, but it was an awesome feeling when we went back to back and we took down the mighty Taiwan home run, not once but twice. And
Yep.
we got it handed to us on Thursday in 2017 when we lost to San Antonio. No one even cared. They put us back in the far field and we had to work our way back from the losers bracket. That was the best World Series ever. Out of the five we won is when we had our backs against the wall and we had to come back and not only win 7 games in a row, 5 to get to Saturday and 2 against Taiwan.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. And you said that was 2017, that second one
Yes,
in West Palm Beach. Yeah.
yes. And then we had to go through a rain delay.
Yep.
That happened. It's the mental toughness because I told those guys when we lost to San Antonio on that Thursday and we got back and won it another step before we got to Colorado. We revenged that loss to San Antonio, but I told those guys, and I quote, I don't want to hear nothing about back to back. I want to hear about nothing like that. We're not talking like that. It's one game at a time, one pitch at a time, one defensive play at a time. That's the type of coaching I do. I am a motivator. I motivate these guys. I try to get them. I have a lot of energy on that field. I'm not sure if we've played against you, if you've heard me talking every time because I got to keep my guys up. And I
Yep.
love my coaching staff with Jared because he definitely knows the game. And, he knows the angles and stuff like that. And I know the angles. I know the game. But I think when you guys are out there on defense, it's a lonely feeling. I've been there before as a player. I want somebody talking to me. Okay, guys, here we go. Here we go. Keeping them up, keeping them motivated, driven. So I think that's a key component in coaching. And then we try some things along the way to also help us. But like I said, I get going. I get passionate about it. But yeah, that was just pretty awesome, man. And then that's when the documentary came along. I got a call from Bob Arnold from Bloomington just out of the blue. They were looking for something to write about. We didn't know how long it would take to come to fruition. It took 7 years for it to finally come to fruition in 2023. They followed us from the last part of 2016, all of 2017. So there was drama in that game against Taiwan before we had to play them the second game. You're talking about that's why I love sports because you never know what's going to happen. It was amazing. So that's how the documentary came about. The documentary is called Thunder Rolls: The World of Blind Baseball. That was amazing. The documentary is great, and it's now I think it's also got the sound things that you guys were looking for as blind and visually impaired people. What is it
Oh,
called
yeah.
that you guys like
Audio
that you guys were saying?
description.
Audio description. Yes, audio description. So it'll be out real soon. But yeah, I mean, beat baseball has taken me and to hire, just taking me all over the country. And also just with this documentary, it's been amazing for me, just amazing. And I just couldn't thank, like I said, Jan, that's the start. And then my teammates, my coaches, the volunteers, the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into our organization. I'm not sure if you read the piece. I want to give Rob Wiseman credit because he crunched the numbers and it made us feel very, very good. Not sure if you read that article, what Rob put in there about the lone just statistic. He has some statistical numbers about beat ball teams from 2006 until whenever, and we were on top. The Thunder was.
Yeah, I think I did come across that. I know he's a big stats guy and has just been very copious in all the notes and stats he's compiled over the years. And yeah, that's amazing. And to sustain the success you've done, and like you said, kind of relinquishing the pitching duties and going younger, making those changes, those strategic changes, sounds like is really what ultimately, led to the long-term success.
Yes, and nowadays now, because and like just I'm gonna say just so even though we're a niche sport, but you compare beat baseball to you have to adapt. Like in any sports, you have to adapt. Like we know college football is NIL and just free agency and then transfer portal. So with beat baseball now, my team, I do not, and I'm sure Jared doesn't. We don't go pluck players. We don't do that. We try to keep it a lot of Indiana, but the adaptive thing now is players are recruiting players. Okay, that's what is going on now, and you have to adapt to that, or if not, you'll be left behind. So it's like, and it takes. I'm not. I don't. I'm only one voice. I'm not the end all be all. We vote as an organization. Like if we were going to bring these couple of elite players from out of town that wants to play with our team, that's because their friends play with our team, and they talk, and you know this. So it's now it's the Wild Wild West they say, and it's just like college football, whatever. Players recruiting players. I'm not sure what other coaches do, but that's not my repertoire. That's not my DNA or my style to go pluck Greg from the band is, hey, Greg, you want to come play with my team? No, I don't do that. If you had interest in talking to the Thunder players, and then we vote as an organization. So that's what I mean by adapting, because our majority of our roster is still Indiana players, but we have three players now. One that's coming back to Indiana this past off season, getting ready for this season. He was with the Thunder in our championship run, Tyler. But so I still consider him an Indiana guy because we've had players that their jobs, like Adam Rodenbeck, he works for Salesforce, but he has to work in San Francisco. So he's still, and that's when he was a couple of years ago, but he's still an Indiana guy because he's born and raised in the state of Indiana. That's how I look at Tyler. But we just acquired Justin Holland. And so we had Justin Holland, I'm sure, came through his best friend Cody because I discovered those guys in Atlanta, and I wanted those guys to stay with Atlanta because that was their core team. But like I said, times change. So those two or three guys now that we have from out of two guys, definitely from out of town, not Indiana raised or born. We still have we have a total of like 18 players, but two technically are not from the state of Indiana, which is Cody and Justin. It was not my doing or Jared's doing. It was like I said, players recruiting players, players talking, best friends want to play together. They had to go through the process and get it voted on. So that's how that happened. So, and again, we know that I know you're saying, well, the edge may do it a different way, but we still try to keep our guys. We still try to recruit all over the state of Indiana. That's what we still try and do, even though sprinkled in with some elite out of town players.
Right, exactly. And it does make me wonder if we'll ever see a run, a dynasty like the Thunder or the Austin Blackhawks winning, many in a row.
Yeah, they won 7 in a row. The West Coast Dogs, they won several in a row. Taiwan won several in a row. And just to be frank, yes, those guys went from the Thunder to the Edge. So if Eric and those guys would have, and like I said, stayed here, like I said, we say, hey guys, we're not asking if will you be here if you only want to be here. Those guys want to go play with their friends on the South Side. So I'm proud of Indiana. If it's not the Thunder, the Edge. We've won the Indianapolis or the surrounding area, which is Greenwood, where they're from, like it's a Donut County, Johnson County. That added two more championships to the state of Indiana. So I'm proud of that. Yeah, that's those seven championships that the state of Indiana has won. And like I said, we try to do it the right way. Like I said, I fully respect the Edge, but it was a great feeling last year, even though we came up short and took third. We was glad that we got to the third place game by beating the Edge. It was a great feeling as well.
No doubt that indie rivalry now, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a healthy rivalry for sure. They have a couple championships. We have five, they have two, and I'm sure people calculate that. I look at it as, it's a healthy competition, and we embrace it.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm also curious in terms of the NBBA, the National Beat Baseball Association, and the board. I know you've served on the board. You've done a lot of off the field work as well.
Oh yeah. As the board, yeah, I served on the board on different capacities. I was second vice president, and like I said, I served on the board as a board member. So there's lots of things behind the scene goes on where we have to make tough decisions. And as second VP, as far as public relations, I've been to all the tournaments plus the tournament plus the one in Tyler. They have a great tournament because I was there for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I've been down there several times, and also for a little bit of time in those because there's ups and downs on the board, and there's sometimes things don't go well. So I was also in the first vice president chair for a little bit, but things worked out in my favor. Just I had to kind of step aside for a little bit. So I am running this year again for unfinished business. I do have, and let it be known, I'm running against Cassie because my goal is to oversee the World Series. And it's all about the players to me. And I say I have unfinished business, which I do. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. And if I win, I will, like I said, I will be overseeing the 26 and 27 World Series because not campaigning. I just know if I do get that honor to represent you guys and work for you all, the players and stuff, I have unfinished business that I want to see done because I've done regional tournaments for 25 plus years, and I've also helped with tournaments, and I've also helped other teams coordinate their tournaments and this, that, and the other. So I know I can run a World Series, but it was just some things that came up in 21, 22, or what have you, that I just had to step aside, and it worked out in my favor that I could run again. But again, I that's the challenge. That's the drive I have because I love this game. I love this league. I love this sport. And I want to do what's best for the players because like I said, I've been there as a player, but I want to make it better. And like I said, our team, we have a TV deal with the ISC Sports Network. And now there's a connection with ESPN Plus, and I hopefully we can get that on board. I know we have to pony up some money, fundraising wise, whatever it takes, but I would like us to see our sport, the eyeballs connected to ESPN Plus, along with my connection with the ISC Sports Network, because we've had several. They're now a staple at our tournament, the ISC Sports Network, not ESPN Plus. But when you get to the World Series level, that gets ESPN Plus's attention. Okay, it's World Series. Hopefully, and that's being kind of dialogue right now. So hopefully it'll come to the 25 World Series. And hopefully we'll get some fundraising dollars to have ESPN Plus broadcast our Friday, our Thursday, Friday, Saturday games, or our Friday, Saturday games. That's my goal. That's what I like to do. That's my PR background.
Wow.
But as far as overseeing the World Series, that's what I want to do. I want to make it the best. If I am elected, like I said, I want to do my best to make it right, make it, and Cassie's done a great job. Tip my cap to her, but I feel like I have a lot to give, and I have a lot to make it happen. To that you guys are being proud. So if I'm politicking for votes, that's okay too. But I'm not sugarcoating it. I have a passion for this sport, Greg.
Oh yeah, after 40 years, it's in your blood. I can definitely tell.
Yeah. It'll be 40. It's 40 years this year. 40 years. Been at this ever since I was 18 years old. and like I said, I was so honored to be selected into the Hall of Fame going in as a coach. And that was I got a lot of that's from Jans gets a piece of this. My high school coaches that molded me, and then my basketball coaches. My high school coaches was at the Hall of Fame in St. Louis when I was inducted. I give them a lot of credit for molding me, shaping me, and also my godparents, because like I said, I basically they really raised me, because it was just my childhood was really in a crossroads. So when I met them, they shaped me and molded me. So they all get a part of that piece of me being into the Hall of Fame, which I'm glad my high school coaches were there, were able to witness me going into the Hall of Fame as a coach. And that's what I think my strong suit is being a leader. And that's what you have to be when also if you're going to try to become the first vice president and be a leader and lead and do what you can to advocate for the players.
Absolutely. Well said. I am curious, just what kind of advice would you give to someone who might be interested in starting a beatball team or an adaptive sports team or organization? Any just kind of tips off the top of your head?
Advice I would give is make sure you maybe take some notes, go around and watch the game. I mean, like when I started the Thunder in 2000, I did not have the resources at all. First we had our first tournament in 2001 as a 4-team tournament. It's about make sure you have the resources, pick people's brains. They can check with you, check with me. I'm in the process when I'm done with beat baseball sometime in the future is to sit down and write a manual on how to run a tournament. People may agree to disagree, but I want to put it out there.
Hmm.
I still want to help people. I still want to help teams. We are the Thunder is real great about helping develop teams. We went out last year and helped the Boston Strong. We helped the Atlanta Chaos. We helped the Gateway Archers. We have workshops off the field, and we have training on the field. So I'm always willing to help teams. I support other teams, with fundraising ideas and letting them know how things go, and even coaching tips. I'm just all about. I have my hands on everything, Greg. So if they want to know how to start a team, of course we have our outreach department in the NBBA, but also don't be afraid to look on the team contact list and contact myself, JT, or whoever they want to call and say, how do you do this? How do you do that? I'm glad to sit down with any of them and help them and reach out to them. Even like I say, get 4, 5, 6, 7 of our guys to come down and give you guys help new teams with workshops, this, that, and the other. We can work it out. We can work out the funding where we meet you guys half and half, where we meet teams half and half. And it's paid. Like I said, it gave Boston Strong 2 wins. So because they were, like I said, we were proud of those guys. We've connected with those guys. We connect with the Chaos. We connect with the Archers, even though the Archers are really good now. And because I said they had to start somewhere, and I reached out to them. And it was just great to have a workshop with them. I'm like I said again, I know there's an outreach service, but I'm easily to get a hold of. I'm on the Indy Thunder website, on the team contact. But yes, like anybody that has any questions, even if they're new or they're second year or third year into this, whatever, I'm also encouraged with the Sirens and with the Echo or any of those teams, even the women's teams, if they need help. I'm here to assist them in any way possibly, along with my own team, because we know we have to. We're still trying to get our stuff together, but I am right here if they need any of my assistance, and I can, like I said, give them valuable information, and then they can take it and run with it. And also gave some coaching tips because going back real quick, and I shared this with other coaches and it helped us really good in the 2017 and the 2018 World Series. So I thought of an idea. I'm sure it's probably been used before, but maybe not. So the week or two before the World Series, so you can take this back to your team, and those people that were high partials or had some vision or whatever, the week before the World Series, I patched them. So
Hmm.
even though we don't see patching as much, so when they got to the World Series in those 2 years and they were called out, That's one of my coaching things. If I know there's a player that's really good, or even just somebody they may pick out of the blue, the week before the World Series, we patch them and we get them through a practice. And that way, when they are saying, hey, we want to patch number 7, we want to patch number 23, Darnell Booker, I'm used to that. I mean, that was just something I thought of. I'm like, to prepare my team. And it definitely paid off in those 2 World Series in 17 and 18 because those guys practice that. And I've shared that with other teams, whether they use it or not, because the bottom line is they're going to have to stop us on the field. I don't mind sharing my ideas because I want to help people, but that's a coaching tactic that I would do, especially if you're new to the game and people think you're really, really good and people suspect something. I tell their coaches, I'm like, hey, the week before the World Series, why don't you do this? And then when they get called or want to if they're one of those players get patched, then they're used to it. That means you can't touch it. You patch them throughout the whole practice. You see what I mean? That was a great strategy for our team, for some of our players. They got patched and they were used to it. And I think they performed better and they were ready.
Absolutely. Any kind of strategy like that, it's can definitely help in many ways. Just something simple like that in
Yeah,
preparation.
and it's out there now. And I don't mind it being out there now. The bottom line is you're going to perform how you're going to perform. Again, that's giving some advice to coaches if they have a great player. And because, like I said, we have many pitchers, volunteers that watch, see if they're, if now I'm glad. And I'm also glad we have two blindfolds that are approved by the NBBA, the Gold Fix and the Mindfold. And again, people try to say you can manipulate it, but we have a lot of people watching. They'll know if something's funny going on out there if you're messing with your mask or this, that, and the other. So I just say if all the coaches, if they hear this, when they hear this, they'll see, hey, I don't mind sharing information that that I use. Again, you don't have to use it, but I guarantee you it's a good tool if you want to prepare your team and you know you're a pretty good team, and you got some pretty good players, even if you're a young team and you got a 15 or a 16-year-old that's dynamite. Because I've seen it happen before. It's messed up a lot of people's minds if teams want to do that patching and it gets into their head. And I'm like, no, because all these young guys I had in 16 and 17, so we're doing this. We had an umpire and they were ready for it in junior, senior in high school. They were ready for it. Again, it's not like about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmys and the Joes and these little strategies that you put into play. And then we do a lot of stuff. We do situational beat ball practice at our practices as well. And yeah, people's like, you're giving out all your secrets. No, it's just how you want to do your practices. So at the Thunder, we do a lot of situational beat baseball stuff when we're practicing. That's all I'm going to say about that because we do it and we do a lot of situational stuff, whether we're indoor hitting or where we're outside playing defense. And we do work on base running, we work on defense, but at the end of the day, we do a lot of situational stuff. So see if it carries over to the game that we've practiced that in practice. So I'm giving tips as well here, Greg.
Hey, I love it. The more the better, honestly. And the fact, I know you're such a competitive guy and want the Thunder to succeed, but to want to give back and help, especially newer teams or any team
Absolutely.
out there do well too. It's awesome.
Absolutely, because I've been there and done that. I've been to the bottom. I've been to the top. It's about helping people. It's about helping people to succeed. And if they want to know about fundraising, they can call me. Okay, what else do you guys do for fundraising? I'll be glad to help them in any way, shape, or form because we all are a family. At the end of the day, between those lines, yes, I want to beat Greg Lindbergh's team as best as I can, and he's going to have to stop me. But when we're off the field. Anything you need, man, just let me know if I can help your team. If we can come down and do stuff with your team to prepare you guys, to help you guys better on and off the field, be glad to do so.
Awesome. Appreciate that. All right, so before we do wrap up here, I just wanted to give you the chance, Darnell, to mention any kind of contact info as far as the Indy Thunder, or if people want to contact you, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can contact me at Darnell Booker. They can look on our website. They can contact me at Thunder Beat at dbooker@thunderbeatball.org or Booker D, the underscore sign, the number 23 at yahoo.com. And also, they can, I can put my phone number out there if they have any questions. I don't care about it because, like I said, nobody calls me anyway. So 317-370-7231 if they have any questions about beat baseball. I'm also now, Greg, on the equipment committee because I want to make sure we have top network, sure our equipment works with the Fonzie balls and with our bases. So I'm doing that right now, even though because I'm not on the board, I'm just on the equipment thing, and I do a little bit of outreach, but I'm definitely on the equipment, one of the co-chairs of the commitment of the equipment committee, just making sure you guys have top notch bases and balls and making sure they're all working at the World Series. So I'm glad I got to be on that part of the helping out with the committee. And I like to thank Richie Flores for giving me that opportunity because, like I said, besides my own team, I want to help the league, help it grow, whether it's PR, whether it's equipment or anything, new or old teams or individual people, umpires, whatever. I want to help all I can.
Right. That's amazing. Absolutely love your attitude and just everything you're doing.
Thank you, Greg.
Definitely. All right. Again, on this episode, we've been visiting with Darnell Booker of the Indy Thunder beat baseball team, also Hall of Famer in the NBBA. And Darnell, thanks so much for your time. Really, really appreciate just your energy, your insight, everything. Thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. To hear more episodes of the Eyes Free Sports podcast and to subscribe, search for Eyes Free Sports on your favorite podcast platform or visit eyesfreesports.com. Be sure to follow the Eyes Free Sports podcast at facebook.com/eyesfreesports and on Twitter at Eyes Free Sports.